got a very active weather pattern developing with multiple storms on the way, and the one that I'm watching for later this week could bring a multi-day, in fact 3-day severe weather event from Thursday all the way to Saturday. We'll track that system out in this video and also take a look at how much rain could come out of it, because we could see a big flooding threat. All that right here.
One Nation Weather.
Thank you so much for joining me here at One Nation Weather. If you like WeatherBell maps that I use in this video, check out the link in the description for those. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this content. Let's get right into it. Alright, it's Tuesday evening as I film this video. We're taking a look at the days ahead, and you can see with our pattern overview here, we've got rainfall and some shower activity as we make our way through parts of the southeastern United States as well as mid-Atlantic as we go overnight here Tuesday night into our Wednesday morning. We'll also watch some showers and storms that could be on the stronger side out down there in Florida with maybe a very low-end wind and tornado threat. But overall, this system is going to be pretty much not what we're too concerned about once we get past Thursday here. As you can see, the lingering rainfall pushing on up there through parts of southern New England with a minor flood threat possible there. But what's really going to be our focus there is going to be this return flow on into the plains as our next system is going to begin to evolve as we go, especially throughout the day Thursday. Look at those showers and storms over there over parts of the south central plains, some snow wrapping back around into the Four Corners region. This is going to be a very dynamic low pressure system, and looking at our pressure anomalies and millibars here with the European model, anything in those deep blues is where we're really seeing a pretty strong low pressure system for this time of the year, well below the seasonal pressure averages there. You can see number one of those again pushing offshore as we go Wednesday into Thursday there off the East Coast. But our one that we're going to be watching through the end of this week and into the weekend even is this one that's going to be exiting parts of Texas and Oklahoma, about 15 millibars below average of those seasonal pressure averages there, pushing into parts of the Great Lakes all the way back down towards the Gulf Coast here. And you can see with this extension of the system like so as we go towards our Saturday morning, this is going to be pretty elongated, so we're going to see a lot of rainfall all the way from the Great Lakes back down towards that Gulf Coast region and parts of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi at this point, all the way through our Saturday there. You can see this low really beginning to deepen over there over parts of the Great Lakes region, and we'll track that low out a little bit more here in just a minute. Timestamps are in the description, so you can skip ahead to the part that you want to get to, but you can see right now tracking out this current low pressure system here that we've got going Tuesday into Wednesday. I know I just kind of want to do this real quick because we've got that heavy rainfall here nonetheless, even though this is a weak system and not our main concern over the next several days. We've still got some rainfall pushing through parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, as we go through our Wednesday early morning, also parts of the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. There's a weakening front up there, that's why I drew those X's up there closer to the Great Lakes region, Lake Erie, at parts of Lake Ontario as well. But look at this flow here. Could we see some brief severe thunderstorms as we go towards our Wednesday afternoon down there over parts of Florida? Yes, that's not out of the question there. You can see a good bit of some rainfall pushing up the mid-Atlantic shores, as well as it's still extending all the way back down there through parts of the Ohio Valley. Notice though where this rain really picks up as we go through the end of our day Wednesday. It's over southern New England there. This is Wednesday late evening that I'm showing you right now with this Euro model. As we go in towards our Thursday, we'll see the system kind of pull offshore with a little bit of lingering snowfall, and I'll show you that here in just a second, kind of wrapping back around. But in terms of our rainfall out of the system, there are two noticeable zones of heavier rain. A lot of spots in the east picking up at least half an inch of rain in those blue shades. So even if I don't mention your location, the key at the bottom should give you that rainfall total you're looking at. But you can see in parts of southeast Tennessee, parts of north Georgia, as well as parts of South Carolina, or upstate South Carolina to be specific, we're looking at about 1 inch to 3 inches of rain still to come out of the system. But where those really heavy totals are possible is up there through parts of New York City, all the way on there through parts of southeastern Maine with 2 to 4 inches in widespread fashion. Some spots there in far southern New England into parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and places like Cape Cod. Some of those areas picking up maybe closer to 4 to 6 inches at the high end there. So we'll be definitely watching the flood threat potentially emerging out of that. What we'll also watch at the very tail end of the system, again, as we go pretty much through our Thursday here and Thursday evening, we'll watch some snowfall kind of tail this system. And some of those spots up there into parts of central Maine picking up, say, 2 to 4 inches of snow, maybe some locally higher amounts, and maybe a dusting going as far south as places like Boston, Massachusetts, with some of those flurries that wrap back around. You can see the next trough digging on down, and this is a pretty strong positive trough here. So we're not looking at any sort of, very vertically stacked trough, and that would mean that we would have a huge severe weather event on the way. But what we are looking at is a pretty significant severe weather event nonetheless, as the system has a lot of warm air, moisture, and stability to work with. And I'll show you all of that here. But let's just start with the overall system timing. We're looking at those 6-hour precipitation zones from the European ensembles. This is a collection of models showing us that it looks like through parts of Texas, Oklahoma, even parts of the Central Plains rains. We'll be watching convective activity, some storms and showers as we go late night, Thursday night, and into our Friday morning. That's when this event really begins picking up, although some of the early signs are beginning as early as Wednesday. You can see 2 zones to watch up there in the Midwest with some heavy rain Friday. Also back down there in the Arklatex region, we'll probably be watching some severe storms Friday throughout the day. Those push through parts of Louisiana. In this box, I'm drawing all the way on over there to South Georgia and the western Florida Panhandle as we go late Friday evening into early Saturday morning. But again, notice how big of a system this is as we get that low pressure system to actually really kind of transfer its power on up there closer to the Great Lakes. That front might strengthen even more, and I think we could have a potentially, kind of underrated severe weather threat that could continue there into parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Florida that's not necessarily being outlined yet by the Storm Prediction Center as I film this, but it does look like as we go through the day, Friday and then into Saturday here, throughout the day Saturday, a lot of rain over parts of the Great Lakes, as well as just most of the east, and then as we go kind of through the day, late Saturday and in towards our Sunday there, we'll be watching a lot of the impacts go and kind of progress off into the northeastern quadrant of the United States, while most other areas, except Florida, clear on out. But again, here's your severe weather outlook for our Thursday, March 7th, 2024. We're looking at that level 2 of 5 severe weather threat already issued on day 3 here for the Storm Prediction Center. So worth noting there that we could see a risk upgrade by the time we get closer to this. This is mainly for large hail over there over central Texas and the Red River Valley region. And then notice we're going to kind of flatten this risk zone out and kind of push it closer to the Gulf Coast as we go towards Friday. This is going to be more of an all hazards threat, so we might not just be seeing hail and maybe low-end tornado and wind threats. This is probably an all hazard threat from East Texas all the way on down there into parts of the Florida Panhandle. But keep in mind, it's really going to depend on how much storm energy we have. Here's your GFS model, the surface-based CAPE, which is your convective available potential energy. Notice those kind of bright blue, those turquoise green colors trying to show on up there in the Red River Valley region through the end of the day Thursday. That's pretty much indicative of that severe weather threat that the Storm Prediction Center is highlighting for Thursday. And then here we go in towards our Friday, early Friday morning. That instability pushes through East Texas. By Friday afternoon, probably some convection in southern Arkansas, parts of Louisiana, parts of Mississippi. And again, notice those 1,000 to 1,500 joule per kilogram numbers, which is, pretty decent and supportive of severe weather. Those are going to be further and south and closer to that Gulf Coast region there. So the further north these get, we might see this line of instability push northward, but right now that black line I just drew is where we're really kind of going to limit the severe weather threat pretty much completely once you get north of that line. You can see there's some limited instability continuing eastward there into the Carolinas as we go towards our Saturday, so we'll watch that threat, but as of now it's pretty questionable as to whether we see really any severe weather on the northern end of this system. So here's my ONW severe scale. It goes from 0 all the way to 7. In any of the white zones, you're pretty much in the clear, at least from what I'm thinking. This is preliminary graphics here. Don't take this 100% as accurate. But I've got a 2 of 7 on my scale from parts of southern Kansas all the way on down there to North Texas in that Red River Valley region Thursday and Thursday night. That is for an increased probability of especially severe weather with a large hail. But I'm tracking, that more elevated potential for an all hazards threat as we go Friday and into Friday night. So if you live anywhere there from East Texas and Southeast Oklahoma all the way to parts of Southwest Georgia, we'll be kind of watching this threat for you there as well in the Florida Panhandle, but I think the greatest threat through the day Friday and Friday evening is going to be there over southern Louisiana and Mississippi, where I've got a 3 of 7, and then I'm continuing a 2 of 7 on my scale, where the Storm Prediction Center is at least including in their discussions at this point that severe weather will probably be probable in some zones there along the Gulf Coast, as well as into parts of South Georgia and maybe even into South Carolina. Could this extend towards the Mid-Atlantic a little bit along coastal areas as well as we go towards our Saturday? Certainly so. So continue to kind of monitor the forecast, check back in for videos and streams here on the channel, as well as with any other forecasters you watch kind of as we get closer there. And this is also going to be a pretty big rain event. Yeah, look at this. Look at how much rain we're getting from Friday towards our Tuesday here. Some of this is going to be extremely heavy precipitation through parts of Mississippi over to South Carolina. Some spots picking up an additional, on top of what's come out of this system through our midweek here, 3 to 6 inches of rain. That's a lot of rain. But all the way on up there into the Midwest, Ohio Valley, a lot of the Northeast looking at 1 to 2 inches. So I do think that pretty decent amounts of flooding will be possible, especially in that south central zone and southeast zone that I just mentioned there with the heaviest totals there. So at least some moderate flooding potential, not out of the question there. But again, you can see our high temperatures here, kind of tracking those temperatures that we've got out ahead of this system and then behind it. Look at this. You can see we've got temperatures, for our Thursday severe weather event well into the 70s there over parts of the Red River Valley. In fact, the entire south lighting up with 70s on our Thursday. Into our Friday, you can see a front a little bit more there over the plains. This isn't, any sort of extremely dynamic front where you can really make it out there on the screen. But 70s pushing all the way through parts of the south as we go towards our Friday. Also notice in the Midwest, we're kind of in the 50s up there. So again, not really the most conducive of severe weather, especially since 50s are the peak temperatures for the day. As we go towards our Saturday, you can begin to see that front a little bit more, and that's why our severe weather threat is pretty much confined more towards parts of Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina at that point. And then notice what happens right behind it. We get a return flow behind the system, even though it's cooler now in the Northeast, as some snow wraps back around that system, over a lot of the East Coast, a return flow bringing those 60s and 70s back into the plains. And could we have another system on our hands not too far after this one over the plains? Not out of the question, and that is because of these warmer than average temperatures. I feel like we've had the 6 to 10 day probability outlook like 6 times within the last month, showing those much warmer than average temperatures up there over the Great Lakes and over a lot of the east. So with this pattern continuing to repeat, we'll probably see more big storm systems. If you want to be with me through all those storm systems, please hit that subscribe button for consistent, accurate, and easy to understand videos. And that's it for this one. WeatherBell maps are all in the description.
One Nation Weather.